The car was quiet after that. We made it home safely, and I set an alarm for the next morning. I laid against the bed and stared up at the ceiling. My thoughts were still. My anxiety was nowhere to be felt. Is this how death row inmates felt? Calm acceptance of your death? Exhaustion must have gotten the better of me as my phone's alarm went off, jolting me awake. I shuffled towards the bathroom to see if my face had swollen any. I nearly made it to the sink when Almond walked through the bathroom door and examined my face.
Whew, he really did a number on you,
he said as he paced around me. The bridge of my nose had swollen to double in size, and a massive welt blistered my bottom lip. I ran my hand over the back of my head and felt the swollen ridge where he slammed my head against the sink. The pain in my side stabbed at me with every step, so I lifted my shirt to inspect the damage. A dark purple spanned the upper left side of my body. I lowered my shirt and rested my head against the sink. Can I pull this off? I thought to myself, the odds were not in my favor. I closed the bedroom door behind me and limped into the living room. My mother's voice echoed from the kitchen.
You're up early?
Where's Penn?
I just dropped her off. Why?
This was all I needed to know. I hobbled to my car as fast as I could, and Almond followed in hot pursuit. I turned out the driveway and sped towards the school.
What's the plan?
Almond asked optimistically. There's a group of children there, so he would have to wait until the end of practice to make his move.
I don't understand.
Almond pondered.
How can he kill your sister and get away with it?
I never stopped to think about his plan. How would he kill her? My mother would be there to pick her up, and there's no way he could make a believable excuse as to why my sister went missing. Maybe he's gonna make a run for it, or stage a kidnapping. No matter how many plans I went over in my head, none would leave no evidence.
Remember what he said.
Almond's mind raced along with mine.
We'll meet again. I'm sure of it.
Almond was right. He didn't plan on killing her. There was no way he could kill her and get away with it, and he knew it. He was after me. My mind raced furiously as I sped to my destination. What was I gonna do? I was walking into his game. I was playing by his rules. I had to do something he wouldn't expect.
What are you going to do?
Almond asked. Easy, I replied. I'm gonna call the cops. I pulled into the gym's parking lot and gripped the brown bag.
You sure you want to do this?
Almond asked. It's the only thing he won't be expecting, I muttered as I slid out of the car. The girls, including my sister, were running around the track, but there was no sign of check.
At least they're safe.
Almond said reassuringly. The double doors connecting the gym to the outside swung open.
Good morning, Penn.
Chet came strolling out of the doors and down the steps.
Oh, and I see Almond is still following you.
I placed the brown bag in my pocket and marched towards my death.
Please, join me in my office. Honestly, I was expecting you sooner, so I made coffee. I'm afraid it's gotten cold, though.
He placed his hand around my back and guided me towards the gym. I remained silent as our footsteps echoed through the hollow gym and towards his office.
I was getting worried you wouldn't show up.
We stopped just outside his office door, and with a firm hand, he nudged me inside.
Please, take a seat.
He said in a demanding voice as he closed the door behind him. I took a seat like he asked, and he sat on the opposite side facing me. His office was pristine. His walls were adorned with various trophies and plaques commemorating his achievements. An extravagant mahogany table separated us as he stared at me, barely able to control his excitement. The three girls stood outside staring in through the window, waiting in anticipation. Almond stood behind me, hands crossed, keeping a firm glare at Czech.
You know why you're here, correct?
Czech asked in a demanding tone. I made sure to give my answer as bluntly as possible to not give him any information he may not have had.
Oh, heavens no. I want to give you a choice.
He folded his hands together and leaned towards his desk. Choice? I responded.
You see, Hazel has always been like a son to me. He could get information from people like no other.
What do you mean? I asked, curious about my brother's role.
He was my information guy, you know?
Chuck opened his mouth and mimicked pulling one of his teeth out. Why didn't he inform me that his real job was torturing people? Was he ashamed of it? He was an intimidating guy, sure, but he never took pride in hurting other people.
Also,
Chuck leaned in and whispered.
Also, just between you and me, his idea to open a car shop business to help hide his louder guests was genius.
I shuddered at the thought of Hazel using the tools in his car. He leaned back in his chair.
That's why it pained me when I found out that he had gone and killed a cop. I excused all his other off-the-clock killings, but a cop? I soon found my place of business infested with detectives shoving permits in my face and asking 1,000 questions.
Isn't killing my sister a bit overkill, though? I asked.
Kill your sister? Oh, God, that's sick. I would never go that far. My original plan was to simply drug her and take photos of her, show your brother that if he stepped out of line again, what I could do. But then you showed up.
His smile began to creep across his face.
You attacked me in a bathroom in a half attempt to kill me just because you saw that I had baggage.
It was clear that he had rehearsed this multiple times. He probably spent all day going over these lines in his head, trying to find the best take. He continued his speech.
After the bathroom, I began to think, why was the ghost of the cop that Hazel killed following you? It just didn't make sense. That's until your mom introduced us. That's when I realized that you were Hazel's sister. You were the one that killed the cop, and your big brother Hazel was taking the fall for you. It all made sense. But why stop there, I thought? What if every dead body he hacked up and hid was actually a result of your homicidal rampage? All this time, Hazel had been covering for your little homicidal hobby.
I glanced over at the window. All three girls' attention was fixated on me now. I was his target.
So, this is what I decided. I'll kill two birds with one stone. I'll teach good old Hazel not to cover for other people's mistakes, and I'll get rid of the person who's creating problems for my company.
When does the choice come in? I said firmly, refusing to show him any weakness.
It's more of an ultimatum. You drive with me to your brother's car shop and let me kill you there, or I drag you there and make your brother dispose of your body as he did with so many of your victims.
I glanced over at the two double doors. What was taking them so long, I thought? Why did you kill those girls? I asked, pointing at the three onlookers outside the window. Chuck sat back in his seat and smiled. He was a man that enjoyed talking, and I was gonna let him talk.
3 of my employees tried to make a break for it. They threatened to inform the police of this organization if we tried to pursue them. I'll never forget how bad those 3 hurt me. I loved them. They were my family. You never turn your back on family. So I got my employees to track down each of the next of kin. Luckily, they were all family men.
He stared at the girls in the window.
I drowned each one so that I could remind myself to never trust family.
How did you get away with it?
That was the easiest part. We just set it up so it looked like they had killed the daughters and fled the state to start a new life.
I glanced back at Almond, who I could tell was starting to get nervous.
It was nice to find out that there were other people that can also see the dead. Shame it had to end this way.
He stood up and placed his hand on my shoulder.
You ready to get this over with?
Yeah, I said, standing up. Let's go. We walked towards the gym door with the baggage in tow. I listened to our feet echo around the gym until we both paused when we heard a haunting sound. The low roar of a siren could be heard, quickly gaining volume as it echoed around the gym.
Did you call the police?
He turned and faced me as I took out my phone. I recorded everything.
This little martyr stunt just cost you and your family's life.
Have fun trying that when we're both in prison.
You think it's that simple? This is a small town. Ever heard of jury tampering?
I clenched the syringe in my back pocket. I hoped that I didn't have to use it.
Even if they did arrest me, I have people on the outside. Good plan, genius. Have fun protecting your family when you're in jail.
He was right. I had to kill him here. But if I struck at him, it would just be a repeat of the last time. I needed a distraction and fast. I heard a pair of footsteps grow louder as they approached the double doors. It was over. There was nothing I could do. There was a loud pounding coming from the other side of the double doors. Czech turned to face the sound.
I'm coming, officer.
Czech turned to face the sound. I didn't have time to think. I lunged forward and plunged the syringe into Czech's neck. The doors flew open and the officer instinctively raised his gun as he saw me press down on the syringe, forcing the opium into Czech's vein.
What the hell was that?
Czech screamed as he toppled to the ground, seeking refuge behind the cop. There was nothing either of them could do. Within minutes, Czech laid there on the pavement, motionless. Rule 5. If you can't live for yourself, live for your family. After the incident, I disassociated for a while. It wasn't until a heavy-set police officer firmly repeating my name brought me back to my senses. I was in an interrogation room. Metallic cuffs wound too tight restricted the blood flow to my hands.
We listened to your recording.
The cop said sternly. There was one last thing I forgot to tell Czech before he died. I only recorded his confession about the murder of those 3 girls.
What you did was extremely foolish.
The cop was a father. The way he was talking down to me showed it.
But what you did was brave.
History is written by the victors, and so are confessions. I told them that after I noticed Coach Czech was using a syringe to inject an unidentifiable liquid into his veins, I called the police. Czech noticed me in his drugged-out state and forced me into his office. Once alone with him, he threatened to kill my family if he ever got arrested. That's when he informed me about how he killed the daughters of 3 men who crossed him before. Terrified of losing my family, I hastily and regrettably injected one of his syringes into his neck when he wasn't looking. With this evidence and my testimony, they found me innocent. Just a scared kid defending herself. Fearing that his organization might seek revenge if this got out, they decided to keep my name anonymous and write his death as an overdose. I was free to go. Waiting outside the police department was my family. My mother hugged me tightly and began to sob. My sister and brother had to pull her away from me, and that's when my brother patted me on the back.
I knew you could do it,
He said reassuringly. For the first time, I saw Almond smile. The next day, my brother helped me dispose of my knife, along with his tools. And together, we buried them in the graveyard of cars in front of his shop. Even though my brother felt that we covered our tracks fairly well, he still decided to send our family off onto a surprise vacation with his savings. Shortly after, I returned to college for a short time. I failed my calculus test. Made a 24%. After that, I decided to take a break for the semester and withdrew from the college. My brother is still working at his car shop, trying to act as if nothing happened. My sister decided that baseball wasn't her thing and instead wants to take archery once she gets back from her vacation. Almond is still haunting me, insisting that he can't move on until I'm caught. I think he just wants to stay because he likes me, which is strange now that I think about it. Who knew murdering someone was a great way to get to know them? With the truth out in the open and the 3 fathers free, the girls were finally able to move on. Czech decided not to haunt me for some reason. Maybe he was mad that I beat him in the end. Or maybe only innocent souls are allowed to haunt things. I'm not an expert on ghosts or Czech. It's been about a week, and true to my word, I'm writing down everything that has transpired in the case of my untimely death. I'm writing this in a Denny's and trying my best to properly recall everything that happened in those hectic 2 days. I'm deciding to post this so hopefully Almond can move on. I am, however, changing everyone's names so that no one can track me down. I did write down a list of everyone's real names. The list is currently hidden under my fish tank. If I'm ever found dead, hopefully someone will know where to look. My brother assured me that we were safe, yet he still extended our family's vacation by another week. I want to believe that we made it out safe, that they haven't found out that I was the one that killed Czech. But as I write this, I can't help but notice Almond's nervous glances around the diner. I also can't help but notice all the ghosts sitting at the tables staring at me. Almond is telling me that we need to leave. I believe him. I know that once they've taken care of me, they're gonna go after my family. If staying alive keeps my family safe, then they better get used to following me. Almond says someone is approaching my table. I guess it's time to leave.